You know, it's such a beautiful day that I'm starting this video outside. What a concept. Love it. Spring is here. So I'm going to talk a little more today about estrangement. I did a serious video about this back in October about being estranged from my son, and I'm not going to revisit all that stuff. If you really want to know the background of that, I'll put a link up here at the end of the video and you can click on that to watch that. But it's really been on my mind because Mother's Day is coming up. And Mother's Day is always one of the two toughest days of the year. Mother's Day and my son's birthday. And on Mother's Day, I cringe. Just cringe every year because for the last 12, 13 years that we haven't spoken, it's just a pain to my heart. But I wanted to talk today about not my specific experience, but about estrangement in general and what that's like for people, and the fact that I know that lots of people deal with this. In fact, when I looked up the statistics for this, it said about 27% of adults in this country are estranged from either a close family member or a close friend. And 1 in 10 people are either an estranged parent or estranged child. And that's a lot of people, a lot of people. And I think it's growing all the time. You know, when I was growing up, I don't think a lot of people were necessarily estranged from their parents and or child as much as they are today. And I know things have changed in our social system. I know things have changed in psychology. I know a lot of things have contributed to that. But the point is estrangement is one of the most painful things that anyone can ever go through. I know it is the single most painful thing I have gone through in my life and continue to go through in my life. And so I'm going to talk at the end of this video, please stay for the end, about some things you can do if you're estranged from someone close to you that will probably help you in some ways. I'm not saying there's a complete fix for this, but at least some of these things will help you along the way. Now, one of the other things I want to mention here is that when I posted my video about my son and the estrangement back in October, I was not expecting the rash of hate comments I got from some people, not the majority of people. Most people were really wonderful about it. And I did get some really hateful comments. And this is despite the fact that I totally own my part in my estrangement from my son. In other words, I own the fact that I was emotionally neglectful at times when he was growing up. I did not always put him first. I made mistakes. Certainly was not the worst parent in the world, but I obviously was not a great parent. So I own that, but I'm amazed at the hate and the vitriol I got. You know, people saying things like, you're a despicable human, you don't deserve your son to talk to you. Like, they don't, first of all, I did not share everything about that experience or our history or anything like that. So they don't know that. They don't know anything about me other than what little I shared in that video. And it really amazes me. And I know it's YouTube and I know it's social media and I know people are really hateful. And I just delete and block those people. So, you know, but that's the only time that comments have really gotten to me. Most of the time, I don't get a lot of negative comments. And even when I do, they just kind of make me laugh. But those were really hurtful, and people know they're doing it to hurt you. It's you know, so if any of the rest of you have experienced that, being on social media or just in the world in general, people being hateful about this, there's no real excuse for that, because you know what? Just because a child is estranged from their parent, or vice versa, doesn't mean that person, that parent, is a horrible person. It does not at all mean that. It means that somewhere along the line, the relationship broke down. Somewhere along the line, there were misunderstandings, probably on both sides of it. It's not always just the parent, too. Now, a lot of parents don't own their part in it, and I'm not in favor of that either. I think people ought to be honest and real about what they have done or not done or whatever. But to just blame only the parents, especially when it's an adult child, I don't think that's entirely fair, because there's always two sides to a story. So keep that in mind. So I'm back inside. It was lovely out there, and I'm going to finish this video up in here. So I was talking about the fact that how painful it is when you're estranged from someone and someone close to you. And I'm sure for many of you out there who are mothers and in the same position I'm in, being estranged, I'm adjusting my camera, sorry, that I'm sure it's difficult for you too. So my heart goes out to you. But I'm going to offer some suggestions now in general for people who are estranged from either a parent or child or anyone significant in their life. The first thing is to remember to take it one day at a time. Don't catastrophize it if you're estranged. You know, the statistics have shown that the majority of people only stay estranged for a few years from their significant people in their lives. It's usually not a lifetime. In my case, I believe it will be for the rest of my life. I think it's important to remember that estrangement is not always permanent. It's not always permanent. So the taking it one day at a time is important too, to not catastrophize it. Studies have shown that the average length of time for an adult child to be estranged from a parent is about 9 years, which is a long time. Mine's been almost 13 at this point. But I would say I've known people where they've only had an estrangement for maybe 2, 3, 4 years. So don't think it's the end of the world. Don't feel like you're never going to talk to your child again. I think most of the time people eventually talk to their parents. Now, in my case, don't think that's going to happen, but I hope I'm proved wrong. I hope that, my son comes around and we can reconcile in some way, at least, before I end up leaving this planet. So that's the one thing I would say. So take it one day at a time. Don't catastrophize it. The other thing is, don't hold on to a lot of anger towards the person from whom you're estranged. It is very difficult to do that sometimes, but it's very important. You can't sit in anger, because the anger, it's like the old saying about resentment. Resentment is like taking poison and expecting the other person to die. Well, anger doesn't help you at all. So you've got to learn to let go of the anger. Even if you haven't totally forgiven them or anything else, try to let go of the anger. I work on that constantly. So, but I really make an effort to not feel anger. The other thing is to make sure that, especially if you're the parent of an estranged child, that you reach out occasionally and just let them know that you love them and that the door is always open. I did that for quite a while in my situation with my son. I frankly haven't done it the last couple of years because it actually hurt more to do that and then know I was going to get silence. But I do think it is important, and I need to resume doing that. I need to practice what I'm preaching here. It is important to at least reach out on your end, whether you're the parent or the child, could be a child doing that with the parent, and let the person know you love them and the door is always open and you're always open to reconcile. So I think that is also very important. If you do end up talking to your loved one at some point, don't spend your time defending yourself. So listen to what they have to say, own your part in it, and don't just be defensive. It is very hard when we're emotionally triggered like that in a very significant relationship to get very defensive. And it is important to minimize that, because when you get defensive, it just shoots up a wall. Basically a wall between you and the other person you're being defensive with. So keep the defensiveness, tamp it down, basically. The next thing I would say is nurture yourself. Nurture yourself. If you're not getting that nurturance from a family member that because of the estrangement you're not getting anymore, then find ways to nurture yourself. You have to take care of yourself. You have to be good to yourself. You have to be your own best friend. You have to be your own loving family member in this situation. So this is one that I really believe in. It has helped me tremendously to think this way and act this way in my life. You know, I have a hole in my heart forever because of this rift with my son. But I will not let that destroy me. I will not let that destroy me. I will take care of me. I will give myself the nurturance I need. And I hope that you do as well. It is so, so important to be able to do that. And again, don't lose hope. I'd say the final thing I'd say about this is don't lose hope. As I pointed out, estrangements are rarely permanent. And so hold out hope that someday it will be different. And I think for most people, that is how it works out. So on that note, again, in the vein of not losing hope, right? Nurture yourself, take care of yourself. Don't catastrophize this. Don't let it ruin your life. It has been a challenge for me to not let it ruin my life, but I have not succumbed to that, and I will not succumb to that. And I hope that any of you that are watching this will take that to heart, and you will not let it ruin your life either. It is very, very important, especially, you know, when we're triggered by certain holidays or, you know, like a Mother's Day or Father's Day or their birthday or something like that, or Christmas, to not let it ruin everything about your own life. So basically, keep the faith on this note, and until next time, be well, be kind, keep moving forward, and take care. Bye.